Dr. Beverly Jacobs, we're truly honored to have you here with us today, and we are extremely fortunate to have you in the City of Windsor with us and engaging with us. In recognition of your presentation and your time with us today, FOLA has made a donation to the Dr. Beverly Jacobs Entrance Scholarship Award for Indigenous at the University of Windsor Faculty of Law. Thank you. And that was the Indigenous Leadership Award. Thank you. We have another panel lined up. I think the members are here. Yes, I see them approaching. So let me give you a few facts while we're having our panelists come up to the front for the paralegal session. We are 377 kilometers from the Law Society of Ontario in the city of Toronto, which is approximately 3 hours and 56 minutes away in regular traffic. So this is my opportunity to thank all of you that traveled well and beyond that time frame yesterday. But thank you for all of you that are here today. I think the last time I was in this room addressing a crowd was at my wedding reception in 2006. So you are looking at what I call the most beautiful spot in the city of Windsor. All right, so let's go right into our next panel, the paralegal membership. I'm Jennifer Rooke, your Southwest FOLA rep, and I would like to turn to the panel if they could tell us, first of all, who they are and where they're from, and then we'll go into the next agenda item. Yes, go ahead, thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Rooke Haga. I'm the Executive Director of the County of Carleton Law Association in Ottawa.
Hello, I'm Milena Protich. I'm the past president of the Waterloo Region Law Association, and now back to my normal life as a civil litigator. Thank you. From Kitchener.
Hi, I'm Ellisif Harris. I'm a paralegal. I work for Cohen, Highley, and I also work for the Law Society of Ontario.
All right, so as opposed to taking a poll by raising your hands, I'm going to ask you to stand up if your law association allows paralegal membership.
Yeah.
And I am standing as well. Yes, yes. So just take a quick look around the room for some that are there. So we're going to have a discussion about paralegal membership today. Thank you. So I'm looking to the panel now to answer 5 questions. And hopefully you'll take a few minutes each to tell us or to give us your answer. But the first question being, how did you start the paralegal conversation? We'll start on this end, and then we'll go this way for the next question.
So in Ottawa at the CCLA, we started the conversation in 2008, 2009, and it came out of a strategic planning exercise that we conducted. We do that every 4 years. And we looked at the legal landscape and took into account that at that time, or prior to that time, the Law Society had already licensed paralegals. And so for us, it was really a strategic opportunity to embrace those new licensees and bring them into the CCLA. We saw it as an opportunity to not only bring paralegals into the fold, but also to look at a new membership category as well. So it really, at that time, it was really a strategic decision, and one that we put in place a paralegal advisory committee. We did consultations with our membership and went through a process of some bylaw changes over a number of years.
Thank you.
So similarly, in Waterloo Region, the conversation started in and around 2008 when paralegal licensing became the reality. And the decision was made very early on that one licensee should not have different opportunities for scholarship, learning, mentorship, and collegiality from another licensee, and that was the basis on which it was approached at our law association. So by about 2012, 2013, we had enacted bylaw changes to make our paralegal licensees full members of the association with the same rights and privileges of any of the other members. And we also created a category on our board of trustees, so there is one dedicated paralegal slot always. So we always have a paralegal on our board.
So I'm located in Windsor, and this is actually new to Windsor, and it's mainly thanks to Jack Sullins, the president of the Essex Law Association, who spoke earlier, who truly saw the benefits of having paralegal membership. So this is new, and the bylaws will be enacted in December and will allow membership into the association in January. It came about because Jack saw the benefits and decided to push for paralegal membership. And so this is new to our local association here, and I'm really excited for that.
Thank you. Question number 2. What are the advantages to paralegal membership? We'll start on the end and work our way towards me.
Okay, cut me off if I talk too long.
All right.
There's so many benefits to having paralegals included in the membership. First, I would think referrals. It's really great for local lawyers and paralegals to get together, know each other, know what areas you practice in, to be able to have that referral source and add to your network. Also, I feel that paralegals can bring new perspectives, ideas, connections, including professional connections, which would only enhance the associations. Also, you can generate more money through having paralegal membership. There will be more members to assist in planning social events, networking events, CPDs as well. Expanding the paralegal knowledge and competency is huge in having that membership and that mentorship with lawyers. So it's an opportunity to advance the profession as a whole, as well to open up mentorship with like-minded people. Also, I feel a important part of FOLA is access to justice, and the whole reason why the LSO decided to license paralegals was to bridge that gap and provide that access to justice. So I feel that having paralegal membership will enhance the association.
Thank you.
Well, pretty much everything's been said. Over the past few years at FOLA, when there were issues relating to venture elections, we spent a lot of time talking about the importance of law associations and law libraries. And that was done more in the context of lawyers without dealing with this particular issue. But from that approach that those of us that were at FOLA and those of us that were in the law association leadership took, was that it's essential that law associations and law libraries be in place for the profession of law. I think it's as essential for paralegal practice, which is another aspect of lawyering. It's a different aspect. Paralegals are licensed in the same manner as lawyers. They have different scope of practice. Just like if you happen to decide you want to dabble in real estate, even if you're a licensed lawyer and technically you can do anything, I think the Law Society gets a little iffy with you when you answer that question. Oh yeah, this year I did one deal. So, there are areas in which we as lawyers limit our practices because you can't know it all. And so the benefits of education, the benefits of improving competence, the benefits of collegiality, the benefits of networking, the benefits of just being able to share ideas with people who essentially do the same sort of thing, only in different areas, is invaluable.
Yeah, not much more to add to that. I think that, it's been mostly advantages for us at the CCLA. We've engaged with another aspect of the profession, as has been said. They are legal professionals. They're an important part of the justice system. And, when we were having some of the earlier dialogues, there were conversations around, well, they're going to take business away from lawyers. And well, that's not been the case at all. It really enhances the practice of law in our jurisdiction. And there are things that perhaps lawyers don't want to do, or and paralegals can do. It is very much an access to justice issue because it provides another level of legal services to the public. The economics are positive, both economics on the lawyer side as well as on the paralegal side, and also with the public. So there really isn't any downside to it. And, as has been said, you would rather have paralegals inside the association than outside of the association. It's really a win-win for lawyers, for paralegals, and for the public.
All right, we'll start in the middle for this next question. What can you tell us about your fees or paralegal access in general?
So in our association, our paralegal and legal members have the same association rights, the ability to do anything that the other can do, and they're charged the same fees. So they're treated as the same as a lawyer. You pay the same fee, you get full access to the library, to all of the other functions. And as I said, we have a paralegal dedicated spot on our board to ensure that that voice is never absent because of the way a vote went.
That's the same for our association as well, too. Paralegals will pay the same fees as lawyers and have the same access to the law library, all the software that's included, all of the events, and anything that the association's doing.
When we started out, we had one paralegal membership category, and the fee for that was at the lawyer level, and then we added on $100 library levy, because at that time we felt that it was important to capture that. As time progressed, we have modified those membership categories. We actually have 3 membership categories: full practice, associate, and non-practicing. We stripped out the library levy component. And so, for example, the full practice paralegal pays $169, which is less than the under 3-year call for lawyers. And if you're a non-practicing paralegal, it's $47. They have full access to all of our services, full access to the library. We went through 2 series of bylaw changes. Initially, paralegals were non-voting, now they are voting, and they also have a dedicated seat at the board table. And we also have a paralegal committee that does continuing legal education programming for paralegals, as well as social and advocacy events. So they are fully integrated into the association.
All right. So you know from your own experience in your own law associations, and you saw the stand-up poll that we did earlier, that there are paralegals out there that are members of our associations. But where do you see us going forward in the future? Anyone can start it off.
Well,
go ahead.
Okay.
No, go ahead.
Hopefully, I'd like to see where all associations across Ontario are including paralegals into the membership, because I feel that based on everything we've all said on this panel here, it only enhances the profession as a whole and creates that collegiality between lawyers and paralegals, which only enhances the public's view of our legal profession. So I feel that moving forward, I hope to see all associations opening up membership to paralegals.
Yeah, I would agree. I think that the time has come that all associations embrace paralegals. You may need to go through a bit of a stepping stone process, but at the end of the day, it just makes a lot of sense for each association in the room to have a paralegal membership category. How you integrate them into your association, you can look at that, what best fits your needs. And then even at the FOLA level, it makes sense to, create some role for paralegals at the FOLA table, whether it's an advisory committee or some other committee to, kind of bring that full circle. I think that's also important.
It won't surprise anyone that I agree that paralegal membership, I think, should be the norm as opposed to just hit and miss. For the reasons we've talked about. I mean, I know that I've had conversations with various law association presidents about how it would look. Are there problems? And occasionally you run into issues, but I don't think those issues take away from the benefit. So, for example, when paralegal licensing for family law lawyers was under discussion by the Law Society, improving or increasing the ability to work in that area, the Law Society did consultations. And so our legal committee came back with a proposed report, which the paralegal member and the paralegal community of our members didn't reflect their interests. And so how did we deal with it? We sent 2 reports, one from our paralegals and one from the family law lawyer bench. And they were not the same. But that, shouldn't surprise anyone. I mean, I've often, as in my role on the CBA charities law section, dealt with cases where legislation comes forward where the estates bar, the tax bar, and the charities not-for-profit bar look at the same piece of legislation and see 3 different horrors. And that's just the fact that words may affect different types of practice differently. So for us, it wasn't a problem. It was accepted that that was the right way to do it. It was done. Everybody felt included. I think going forward, one of the things, if we can come to the point as law associations that we have paralegal members, then there should be a discussion, I think, with the Law Society about including paralegals in the fees that support libraries. When you have a situation where some do and some don't, you can't really have that discussion, because how would it work? And that would be another way to strengthen our system. I agree entirely with your idea that we should have paralegals here. I know at one point we had a paralegal who was our treasurer, and she wanted to run for vice president, which would have made her in line for president 2 years later. And we were told by no uncertain terms by the then representatives of this organization that a paralegal president of a law association would not be welcome to come here. And so she did the thing that she thought was best for us, and she withdrew. I think we're past that now. I think we should be working from an understanding that a licensee, licensed by the Law Society in whatever capacity, should be entitled to be part of our law associations and part of our Federation of Law Associations. Not that I'm really an advocate for this or anything.
Yeah, I would agree 100%. I think it makes perfect sense, and it really would be the way to go in the future, definitely.
All right, so we have a room full of staff, library staff, vice presidents, full executive, and others in the room. Any final thoughts or messages you really want to share with us today before I open it up to the floor for questions?
I just don't think there's a downside. I think, the time has come, and, FOLA is all about leadership. Our associations are all about leadership. And I think, as was just said, if we show the leadership at this level, then we can go to the LSO as well and take a look at, some parity with fees from a licensing perspective. So, yeah.
Only final thoughts, I don't see a downside, I agree. What I do see is an opportunity to make sure that all licensed legal practitioners in your association have the best shot at doing a great job in serving the public and serving the institution of justice.
Wow, you said everything I was going to. I just agree that paralegals are just here to complement and add to the profession. And if you have that willingness to be open-minded to considering paralegal membership, I think it will only enhance the profession as a whole. And I do feel that it's really important.
All right, on that note, we're going to turn it over to the floor for questions. So if you don't mind coming up to a microphone, there's one at the front, one at the back.
Thank you, and thank you all for your comments and for participating today. And congratulations to your associations too. Some of you sooner, some of you more in antiquity, having made these membership changes. I just want to respond to some of the comments made about FOLA's structure. With our new bylaw that was adopted at the previous general meeting in the spring, it actually uses the term licensee. It does not use the term lawyer, licensees of the Law Society. So we don't, my interpretation of the bylaws, I do not believe that it would prohibit a paralegal who is a duly, elected member of one of our member associations who would become a president from becoming part of the FOLA board. Whether there's explicit representation is a different question, but right now, the way things are currently crafted, I don't believe that door is closed. It just hasn't happened yet. The other thing I wanted to flag is I know we have representatives from Middlesex in the room who recently went through this process themselves. I don't want to put them on the spot, but if they had any comments that they wanted to make in relation to this topic, I just because it was very recent, I'm sure we would welcome those as well. I know Benjer Karen Hulin's here, and Jake is here. Again, not to put you on the spot, but certainly welcome any comments that you have. Thank you.
Would you mind coming to a microphone? Maybe that one back there. Yeah, thank you. Just to make sure everyone can hear. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Yeah, so from our experience in Middlesex, we started this initiative probably in April of 2022, where we essentially asked for input from our association of approximately 900 members, 950, asked for their input as to whether or not we could amend our bylaws to include paralegals. We received a very positive response from the first poll we took, with some feedback that we had to overcome. There were some issues that were identified. We did feel that we were comfortable enough with the responses we got to move forward. So we went through the process last year in the fall of trying to encourage as much feedback again from our members by producing two sets of bylaws, one that included an amendment that included paralegals as members and one that didn't. And then we actually distributed that for probably about 3 months in advance of our AGM in February. And we had probably best turnout to the AGM that we'd had in a number of years, approximately about 35 to 40 people. And again, we were prepared to have some fireworks possibly, but it honestly was the best meeting we've had, overwhelmingly support. I don't think anyone voted against the amendment to include paralegals. We've now just recently on, I'm forgetting Tracy, October 16th, I think 2 weeks ago, we've actually elected a paralegal member to our to the board of trustees. What we did is once we allowed for membership, that started July 1st. We had about 22 to 25 paralegal members join, and then we held an election just that they could participate in to appoint somebody to the board of trustees. So we're welcoming them to their first meeting on Thursday. They will, similarly to what I've heard, they will chair a committee, hopefully formed by paralegals, to run CPD programming for that sect of our association. And honestly, the response has been overwhelming. There's been nothing but positivity from our association. And yeah, I have no negatives, just similar to what's been identified. There's really no downside.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
See Jack Sullins from Essex getting up to take the microphone.
Twice in one day.
Yes.
So this started when Jennifer was president. This has been on my radar for a while. So after Middlesex held their vote, I thought it was the right time, but not being a big fan of omnibus style elections, we just had a plebiscite on membership, because this is the right time to do it. So once we had the plebiscite on membership, it was accepted. It wasn't not unanimous, but it was an actual e-vote. And then once we had that established, we're redoing our bylaws. You all have to redo your bylaws anyway for ONCA purposes. So this is, if you're going to consider it, this is the right time to do it. But so we're going to actually have the plebiscite on the bigger issue of the bylaws, which I don't think will be any issue, but the paralegals can't be redebated. They're in, and then we're going to have our bylaws reviewed and voted on in December. And just to welcome Mr. Frank Ricci's here, he's our county representative. Our bylaws are a little different. We have we make sure we have a county person on our board, and when we debated the paralegal thing, we're actually going to have 2 paralegals on our board because we're going to have a county paralegal and a city paralegal, and those elections won't be, then the whole board will have elections in April. So we took a 2-step approach, but it seemed to work. But I really was happy when Middlesex had their plebiscite, because that was enough impetus for us to actually push forward. Because like I said, Jennifer and I have been talking about this for 3 years.
Any other questions or comments from the floor?
I did forget to add, and I think this is an important point, that over the past year, going through a bencher election, there's been lots of policy discussion in the realm that FOLA operates in. We've also enjoyed very strong support from paralegal benchers, paralegal bencher candidates, including Michelle Lamazo, who's from Windsor, was unable to be here today. I know she would have otherwise probably been on this panel or driving the bus on this panel. But we've had a tremendous amount of support, including on issues related to our courthouse law libraries, despite the fact that in many parts of the province, access to those libraries is either not possible or is constrained somehow because of membership restrictions and associations. So I do want to flag that we've had allyship from paralegals through convocation, and I think that has been a very important source of support when we're trying to demonstrate that we have a broad coalition for our position on issues when we talk to the treasurer and others about our concerns on their policy.
Thank you.
It's tall. Hi, Laura Oliver from Halton. We did this about 10 years ago. And at the time, it was part of our AGM. We had a lot of support. We had one person who sort of quit the association in protest. And we made provisions for a paralegal to be on our board. And it all went very smoothly, and Kathy might be able to correct me if I'm wrong, but then there seemed to be a die-off of interest from the paralegals. And I don't know how many paralegals there are in the membership now, or if the board position is full.
Thank you. So there's no paralegal members right now in Halton?
Yeah.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments from the floor? There's one at the back, Mike. Thank you.
Yes, thanks. Laura Galway again from the smallest membership available here. We do have 3 paralegals in our area, and I've been trying to change our bylaws so that we can get paralegals admitted. If one of them wanted to become president, would FOLA now accept them? Yes or no?
I think based on Doug's previous comments, we can say that the bylaws, we've made the amendments in our organization such that there's no barriers to a paralegal coming here now.
As a president?
Yes.
Excellent. I'm making the change because I think it's not right. If they're licensees, we should be accepting them. We should be having them participate in our libraries, our education, and our mentorship.
Thank you. At the front.
On that last point, the issue is the definition of member.
We couldn't hear the answer over here, though.
Oh, sorry, Corey was not near the mic.
The answer was that based on what Doug said previously, yes, paralegals are in. They're in with FOLA, they're in with various associations. So if any of you guys are looking for to make those changes and you need help, reach out to one of us and we can put you in connection and give you some precedent materials, things like that to make it a little bit easier for you.
It is possible.
Yes, they're in.
All right.
And that was what I'm going to say. The issue is how you define membership, both locally and, as we've heard here, the bylaw, FOLA's bylaw. So when membership refers to a licensee, then anyone who is a licensee, lawyer or paralegal, can be a member but when it referred, like for example, and before FOLA made the change, it referred to people coming as lawyers. And so then if you're not a lawyer, you can't. So that's just the key paragraph. If your membership is defined as a licensee, then paralegals are in. So if your bylaw refers to licensee in who can participate, paralegals are in. That is just really very simple.
Other questions or comments from the floor?
Yes, I just wanted to add on what Jack said. We have a pretty large board on our association. There was 19 members, and we've added 2 members to our board. And full disclosure, when we drafted our bylaw, we actually took parts out of the Carleton bylaw and the Middlesex bylaw, and hopefully came up with a better bylaw. So if anybody's interested in seeing what we did, it wasn't, I don't think it was copyrighted, or you can call it plagiarism, but it wasn't. We just call it a precedent, I guess. And so we added a paralegal active membership class to our membership. And our bylaw provides for a paralegal committee, and it also provides that the paralegal members are the ones that elect the paralegals. Now, we don't have, in our bylaw, the paralegals don't have the right to be on the executive. So it's interesting, the discussion about being on the FOLA executive. We're just kind of new at this, and so we have, that could change, but when I say the executive, we're talking about president, vice president, the executive committee. But we didn't have any opposition really at all. The board thought it was all great. We had questions, and we're anticipating that we're going to try and get this bylaw passed by way of a video conference as opposed to having a full meeting. But we don't anticipate much resistance on it. We all thought it was a very positive thing. But anyways, if anybody would be interested in looking at our bylaw, you can get a hold of our Doug Hewitt at our library. I'm sure he'd be happy to share it.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments from the floor? At the back, Mike.
Thank you very much. So I'm Andrew Ferguson. I'm the president of the CCLA. Way to go, Rick. So just a couple notes. I took part in revising the bylaws recently for the paralegal trustee. So I'm glad someone's using them as a precedent. If you want to go on our website, they're up on the website. You can have a look to see what we've done. And we've struggled. We struggled with the idea of whether a trustee can, or whether a paralegal trustee can enter into the executive. So right now, no, they can't. But I think that's mostly because we have a dedicated spot for a trustee, and we don't have necessarily dedicated spots for the rest of our board members. So that was a bit of a struggle, and we're still sort of discussing that. And I know I'll do another plug for having paralegal members, although I think we've heard a whole lot of them. We're the County of Carleton Law Association. We're not the County of Carleton Lawyers Association. And I think when you add the paralegal membership, you start to understand the issues that are affecting paralegals in the community. I would have never otherwise known how terrible COVID was for the paralegal practice. In Ottawa, it was very challenging when the tribunal sort of closed down. So that was super helpful learning that. And from a personal perspective, I've developed great relationships with paralegals. I refer files back and forth with the paralegals I've met through that association with them. So in case you needed to get more reasons to consider it if you haven't, those are a couple more. And if you have any questions, talk to Rick or I, and go on the website and find the precedents and go and use them. Thanks.
Thank you. Another question or comment at the back, Mike?
I'm just wondering whether FOLA is going to pressure the LSO to institute a library levy for the paralegals in order to make that more equivalent in terms of providing funding for libraries.
Thank you.
Encourage.
Doug?
We gently nudge here at FOLA. And, we have gently nudged that sustainable library funding is more achievable when we all shoulder the load a little bit. What that proportionality of the library levy, or sometimes called the competence levy, is who pays it and what proportion, I think, is subject to debate and how that is determined. But certainly, I think that it is difficult to assert that paralegals cannot be members of law associations and get the benefit of those libraries, while also sometimes you've heard, not anymore so much, but you would hear arguments about paralegals not, being competent for their scope of practice, which isn't a fair comment, but when you're withholding those resources that the Law Society is providing, it's a particularly unfair comment. So I think that that's the position we've asserted, and I think the message we've received, if I can interpret the tea leaves, is that there may be things coming that will impose this upon law associations, and I think it would be wise for associations to turn their mind to it now to set the appropriate governance structure in place before any changes are foisted upon you that perhaps are less helpful.
Anyone else? Questions or comments from the floor? All right, not seeing anyone move.
One closing comment.
Okay, one closing comment from Jack.
So the ELA hosted a bencher debate, and I have to say the moderator of the bencher debate was our own.
Oh, yes.
And it was funny because this last bencher campaign was, if you're a political junkie, it was an actual campaign of very unique and divisive or very different ideological bents. And one of the questions put to Jacqueline Horvath was her position on paralegal membership. Her answer was, some of my best friends are paralegals. And we had the whole bencher group here. So it was for the Southwest. And I just thought, the question was pointed at her as a counter question because the way we structured this, it was a campaigner that did not want paralegal membership. So I just thought her answer kind of diffused that debate quite a bit. And it was brilliant.
Thank you. All right, so I'll just ask you to join me in a round of applause for our panel up front, Ellisif, Milena, Rick. Thank you so much.